and good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the spring edition of Talking with Forest Park. I'm very fortunate to have with me this evening, of course, as always, City Manager Ray Hodges. Ray, glad you could join us.
Glad to be here.
Of course, I'm very happy to have with us, bringing guests, as always, from Forest Park Economic Development, Paul Brim.
Thanks,
Paul?
Jason. Nice seeing you.
We have had some great things happening at the beginning of the year already when it comes to economic development in the business community here. We started out early with our Business Recognition Awards, and now with a very special award this year to the Forest Park Restaurant. Are these great things to come in 2016?
Well, we think so. I mean, we certainly saw a great deal of development in the community over the past year, and in January we celebrated a lot of those developments. In 2015, we actually saw local companies committing to announcing or completing projects that involved over $30 million in business investment and the creation or retention of about 1,000 jobs. So like you said, in January, we were able to celebrate some of those accomplishments, in particular with our annual Business Recognition Awards breakfast.
What are you looking forward to most when it comes to, as we're saying, spring has sprung and we're bringing new things. What are you looking forward to in 2016?
Well, I think we'd like to see a continuation of some of the new construction that we saw in the community in 2015. For a good period there in 2005 to 2010, you didn't see a lot of new construction. And even in the beginning part of this decade, construction was still kind of slow. And like I said, in 2015, we actually saw a number of new construction projects, particularly at Carillon Business Park. The Emeritus $17 million reconfiguration, their new office building at Carillon, a 70,000 square foot new building. We also saw Cincinnati Testing Labs commit to a $6 million expansion of their building. And then Fry Fasteners, another longtime Forest Park company, committing to a $3 million, 50,000 square foot new building at Carillon. So we'd love to continue that new construction as one part. The second part, we'd love to keep filling the vacant buildings that we had in the community. And again, in 2015, we started to make some progress with that. We either filled or redeveloped 12 different properties in 2015. So we got a good jump on that, but we'd like to continue that momentum in the upcoming year.
Do you find that it's more difficult to, as we'll say, backfill a building or probably refill a building than it is to build on a new site?
We've certainly seen it recently because a lot of the properties that we have here in Forest Park are actually not large compared to some of the other communities, especially when you look at the communities to our north, the Masons, the Westchesters, that maybe have a lot of additional land that they can work with. We don't necessarily have those sites. In fact, we lost one project this year because we simply didn't have enough land to accommodate their expansion. They actually outgrew us.
Wow.
So that's one of the things that we're looking to do in the upcoming year is how can we try to keep those companies in Forest Park and open up additional land for new development.
I believe it was said at the recent RCP meeting that that's one of the key components to the city here is that our locality, right off of 275, Hamilton Avenue, Winton Road. Are these true key factors that makes Forest Park viable?
Well, absolutely. We've got a great location. You've got a great access to the transportation network throughout Greater Cincinnati. So 275 connects us up with those northern corridors along 75 and 71, but it also connects us to the west, to Indiana, and then even to the south getting into northern Kentucky. So you have great access points all the way around. Our companies can access airports, whether it's CVG, Dayton, even Indianapolis and Columbus are not out of the picture for our companies to look for air transportation. So it's a great location from that perspective, and it's not only a great location in terms of perspective that our companies can access their clients and their customers, they can access workforce too.
Sure.
So you don't, whereas some companies in some areas may have trouble finding workers, our companies seem to be able to find workers and keep those workers because of the convenience of the location.
Let's kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about the accolades that we've seen with the Business Recognition Breakfast, and it kind of ties into where I want to go because one of the main winners was a celebratory for the longevity, since we are discussing longevity.
Right.
We had a number of great wins this year at the breakfast. What made this year so special? Because it just seemed a bit more, I don't know, I felt like we brought it back home in this year.
Well, we certainly saw a lot of our companies, a lot of our award winners were existing companies that actually grew their operations here. So if you look at, Kingdom Family Dentistry has been was one of the Chamber's award winners this year, not only because of their commitment to the Chamber, but to Forest Park as well. We celebrated Cincinnati Testing Labs and their expansion. The big one that we always like to talk about here, the Emeritus Project, was so important to us because it kept one of our largest employers here in Forest Park. It also demonstrated a commitment by the company to redevelop that entire site. So that project not only involves the 600 workers that are Emeritus and the $17 million that they put in the project, it opens up an additional 25 to 30 acres of land for additional development. And as we talked earlier, that's critical to our future to be able to have this land available for new development.
And I know I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but when do you feel that land will become available? Because I'm afraid that one day, and it's going to be inevitable, that beautiful building will not be there. But that does open up that vacant
It does
acreage.
open up the land, and it's, when we looked at the potential for the property, obviously, opening up that land for new development is critical to our future. Emeritus was willing to work with us and to create that solution. It's probably going to be a couple of years in the making.
Okay.
The building itself is not going to be easy to deconstruct. So, with the marble and the other features associated with the building, plus they want to do it right. So, again, Emeritus is working with us in a partnership. They're not coming to us and saying, this is what we're going to do. They're coming to us and saying, how can we help the community? I think that's a real important, step to be taken.
Sure. And I don't know who would be best to answer this one, but do you find that it's different in that regards, that you have somebody that's long-standing like Emeritus that is willing to work with the community like this? I mean, they've grown as much as the city has grown, pretty much side by side, pretty much at that site.
Right.
You're saying they're willing to help guide this process. Do you find that as a unique standpoint?
Oh, I wouldn't consider it unique. It is something we're very fortunate to experience here in the Forest Park area. We've seen it with long-term businesses. We've seen it with relatively new businesses coming in. I think it's perhaps part of the character of the community that the companies found desirable, and they just tend to want to be a part of the community. So it's just fortunate for us that that is the situation with the new businesses and some of the older businesses.
I'm going to kind of playing leapfrog a little bit on this, is that one of the main components this year that we're seeing, especially now, since I don't believe it's complete, but the Northland Boulevard project is still going strong. What we've seen is a wonderful transformation of that. And do you feel that that's going to make an impact on 2016, 2017 when it comes to new business, old business?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you start trying to attract new business investment to an area, the environment that you create is critically important in creating that sense of place for employers to look at the area and say, this is somewhere we want to go. I think putting in that first-class environment along Northland is going to be of a critical importance to us, particularly as we look to redevelop that stretch between Southland and Waycross. The office retail stretch. The light industrial part of this, the manufacturing environment that drifts from Northland towards Route 4, that's always done relatively well for us, and it continues to do well. Matter of fact, if you look at our industrial vacancy rates here in Forest Park, they're actually below the regional average. We're actually under 5% vacancy in our industrial buildings. So if you look at our industrial properties, they're doing fantastic. It's how can we reposition office properties and retail properties in these corridors to make our community more competitive.
And I guess what questions are going through your mind? I mean, obviously, there are a number of buildings on there that are vacant, and obviously some have been removed, and we're making those changes. What are those kind of questions that you're asking yourself?
Well, I think the key thing that we're looking at is the inventory that we have in place and how we can make that inventory more competitive. Some buildings we've been able to retrofit or move new businesses in. So for instance, on Northland, we have Sunrise Medical that's moving into a vacant building at 680 Northland. We've been able to attract some other companies to the office developments that are there and start trying to fill those office developments. The office tower is of critical importance to us. We have to figure out what we're going to do with that in the future, because one of the things, and I think we've talked about in the past, for Northland in particular, is building up that daytime population. If we can rebuild the number of people who are working in Northland who would utilize the dry cleaners, an eyeglass shop, an eyeglass doctor, a doctor's facility, a grocery store, whatever we can attract in Northland, that's what's going to help us rebuild the retail environment. But we have to first rebuild that daytime population along Northland to make that work. So taking stock of our inventory, finding out where we can reposition some of these properties. One of the things, and we've talked about it, the areas that we really would like to attract is new medical investment into the community. We honestly feel that we're a little underserved. So finding physician groups, specialty practices, testing facilities, those types of medical users to come into the community is of critical importance to us. And one of the projects that we just completed is we actually are working with a medical user to renovate and rehab the old Walgreens building at the corner of Kemper and Winton. So that's an example where we're attracting a dialysis clinic to come in, that they're going to reposition and repackage that building to a more productive use. We're also talking to some physician groups about doing the same thing to buildings along Winton and also along Northland. So that's one of the strategies that we're pursuing, but it's really, you have to do all of this at once. It's not a chicken and egg process. It's, you have to create the environment and attract the investment and use those two pieces to hopefully rebuild some of these areas in the community.
Looking at the Northland project, has it become what you've envisioned? Is it where we need to be, and is it going to be the next area to definitely look at to make it even better?
Definitely. It has a characteristic that is unique for itself. That's what we were looking for. This is just a start. It establishes the framework of what we want. You can see how we want it to unfold. And in order to attract those businesses there, we believed that we had to present it first, as opposed to having them imagine our vision. So we have the framework, and now Paul has to really hustle to get more businesses to take a look at it and work with them to bring them in and help fulfill what we see as a very wonderful redevelopment of an established area.
And Jason, we talked about, the importance of our existing businesses staying, but one of the things we saw in 2015 was we were actually able to attract a number of new businesses to the community. And some of those award winners were those new businesses. So ATR Distributing, a software development company that moved into Kemper Meadow, ACPI Systems, an electrical contractor that also moved into a vacant building in Kemper Meadow. Newsall Glassworks, an art gallery and glass shop. It's a really unique use, but they moved into a vacant building in Kemper Meadow. And all three of those projects were investments. Those companies aren't leasing the buildings. They bought the buildings, they renovated them, and you're looking at several $1 million of investment going into those three projects alone. So that's the type of investment we're trying to attract.
It's definitely sounding like we're making a great turnaround and in a positive light in what was some dark times economically.
Right. Well, we still have some big challenges. I mean, Ray mentioned Northland is one of them, and obviously one of the key pieces of this puzzle for us over the upcoming couple of years is going to be how we can repackage and reposition the mall property. It's an 80-acre site at a gateway to the community, not only our community, but our neighbors in Fairfield as well. And repositioning and repackaging that property is of critical importance to us. Now, the burden for that, to a large extent, rests with the property owner. And we have to try to find a way to bring the right combination of resources together, whether that's a new owner or a new partner for the existing owner or a new development team for the existing owner to repackage that property. A mall, it probably is not going to be. Could retail be a part of the redevelopment? Certainly, but we're thinking it's going to be an 80-acre mixed-use property, and we've had a great deal of success in this community, whether it's Kemper Meadow or Carillon or even the business areas along Northland, repositioning some of these properties. And I think that's going to be a key element for the mall property, is taking a look at that 80-acre site and saying how we can make it work in this market and really be an asset for the community moving forward.
You definitely said something that struck was obviously changing it to a little bit of a mixed use. You know, I think a lot of people are already under that assumption that a mall is probably not going to be it. But I think you're seeing a lot of the idea of community centers, that communal idea. Is that the phase that's now, or is there something next that maybe Forest Park and Fairfield can join together to make that next leap?
Well, in 2015, one of the things we did to start working on that process was we actually engaged in a partnership with the Port Authority of Greater Cincinnati, Duke Energy, which helped to fund the research I'm going to talk about, the City of Fairfield, and ourselves all came together in a group, and along with Ready Cincinnati, which is the Regional Economic Development Initiative for this region, took a look at how we can best reposition the mall. So we did $75,000 in research to look at what the options were, what the obstacles were, what the physical limitations of the property might be, what the cost might be to do partial demolition or to reposition some of the existing buildings. We looked at all of those options, and that research is something that we've been able to take now to developers and say, okay, we've done some of the legwork for you. Come in and work with us and either the current owner or help us find a new owner to help reposition the property. And that research was critical, and again, we were able to leverage outside money so that we could do all of that research, and our cost for that was only, it was under $5,000 for our share of the costs to do anywhere between $75,000 and $80,000 worth of work.
That's amazing. And so again, it sounds like obviously we're going to see some changes. It's not going to be an overnight situation. I think we know that. I think a lot of people were more concerned that it was not necessarily what was going on, but was it not something between Fairfield and Forest Park that couldn't make that decision? And I don't believe it ever was that at all.
No, the stalemate with the mall rests really with the owner. We simply need a more aggressive owner in terms of his interest in developing that property. There's 1,000 wonderful ideals that could be explored, but it takes one owner that is ready and willing to move ahead with the redevelopment of that area. And unfortunately, we just haven't seen that out of the current owner. So we hope that the spirit of the owner will change, or we get a change in ownership. But the communities are ready to move on that project. We just simply need an owner that is sharing that interest in moving that project ahead. And I would add one thing, sometimes owners have different interests. Sometimes owners have interest in operating a mall. Some have an interest in redeveloping a project. Some have a different interest. Again, we got to continue to reach out to this owner and hope that he will join us in redeveloping that project, because we're ready to go.
And to kind of round out this segment, I want to kind of go full circle and go back to the idea of owners. And an owner that has been celebrating a number of great achievements, and who we celebrated at the annual breakfast this year, was the Forest Park Restaurant.
Absolutely. The Pavlovsky family's been in Forest Park now for 5 decades. They celebrated the 50th anniversary of their restaurant recently, and we were thrilled to help them celebrate that success. It's very uncommon to see any business that's going to be in a community for 5 decades, and it's very uncommon to see a small business owner. We all know what the success rate is for small business people to try to make it last for that long in a community. And the Pavlovskys are one of the hardest working families you're ever going to meet. So George and Lisa, their son Benny, their daughter Susanna, were all a part of that success. And we were able to have a celebration with them recently at the restaurant over on Northland, where we celebrated that. And I think it says something, and you were there, Jason, I
Yeah.
think, and it was quite an event, because it's so uncommon to see somewhere where you actually have 3 past or current mayors attend the celebration.
Yes.
So Brandon Weirs was there, Wayne Coates, who's of course our Hamilton County Recorder right now, was there as well, and then also Chuck Johnson, our current mayor, was there. And that's just a demonstration of the kind of love that the people in this community have for the family. And we were thrilled to be a part of that in a small way, to call attention to really all of the hard work that George, Lisa, and the family have done.
Well, we don't have to say too much because we were there to capture that, and we were going to roll that in. So before we do that, I do want to thank Paul for joining us and
Thank you,
giving us the
Jason.
information that we're definitely seeing springing forward in Forest Park.
And next time I'll try not to mess up my microphone.
Oh, you'll be
So-
fine. That's
so-
no problem. So we're going to roll this in, and we're going to bring Jermaine Hill on next here on the spring edition of Talking with Forest Park.
Everybody, if I could have your attention for a quick moment. My name is Paul Bram. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Forest Park. I'm only going to talk really briefly here because we all know why we're here today. It's to celebrate George and Lisa and the family and everything they've done for our community over the past 50 years. Not many businesses operate in one community for 50 years. And we wanted to call some special attention to this. We did do an award presentation at our annual event earlier this year, but we wanted to do something special, and really George and Lisa, I think, wanted to have all their friends and family here today.
Thank you.
So with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to one of our good friends, former Mayor Brandon Weirs. Brandon, if you want to come up and say a few words and talk about how important this restaurant and everything is for us. And thank you all for coming out today. I do want to thank Jenny Key from the Hilltop Press, Zach from Waycross Media. So we're going to try to get the word out about this and let everybody know what a wonderful place this is. Brandon?
Thank you, Paul. This is a historic event, and my position is when you invest in a community and stay in that community, it encourages additional and further investment, and we're a part of that community that invested in Forest Park, my wife and I, and we feel like it is especially noteworthy that a business was started here 1 year after we came, and it was among the very first ones that were ever built in this shopping center 50 years ago, now 51 years ago, because the award was actually originally presented for their 50th anniversary last year. But we have in Forest Park now a company that has also invested in our city, and it's a glassworks company that makes special trophies out of glass, blown glass, and this is one that's inscribed recognizing the historic nature of this business. It's the 50th anniversary Forest Park Restaurant. Congratulations from the city of Forest Park. Well, this was specially designed for this occasion. It's one of a kind. There is no other like it. And there is a history to this itself, which is that it would not have been created if there had not been support from the city, which through Paul and others who are here, like our mayor, Chuck, and our council members who are also here, Diana Herbie and I, at one time, Sheila Cottle is also here. I hope I'm not missing any other members. But the city, not only the city, but also the Chamber of Commerce contributed. Paul Bram is on his board of directors, and when asked, they came forward and also contributed. But then when I asked Forest Park Historical Society members if they wanted to contribute, they did also. So this represents a congratulations from your whole city. And Paul all your friends.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You might as well stay here because we've got a lot of other people to say hi to.
Okay. Oh, okay.
We have, I think it says something, Brandon's a former mayor, we've got our current mayor, Chuck Johnson. We also have another former mayor, Wayne Coates. Wayne, if you want to come up and say a few words. It says something when you have three current or former mayors here. That's how important this restaurant is to all of us. So Wayne, if you want to say a few words.
Very few. Actually, I apologize for my dress. Actually, I should say my appearance. I'm not wearing a dress. Actually, at my house is kind of a calm mayhem this morning because my son-in-law is on tour. My daughter wanted to come over and spend the night with her two children who are 6 months and 4 years old. So with that chaos this morning, I forgot. So I apologize. But Lisa and George and there's Benny and their daughter. Welcome. She's from Columbus, right? All right. I've been coming up here for 30 years since I've moved to Forest Park, and I know whenever I come in, Lisa says, "Oh, Mr. Big Shot, you running this year?" and I said, "No, I'm actually here for the meal, you know." But a lot of afternoons I'll come in for coffee and don't tell my wife pie. And but you know, this is to me this is personal. You know, I was raised in a restaurant family. My grandmother owned a restaurant. My mother, my three aunts, they all worked at that restaurant. And again, it was really not much bigger than this. And to feed a family and to feed the family of the family, I mean, you know, it takes a lot of effort, and as I say, that's why it's so important that we have anchors in our community over 50 years. It's hard to believe, but I know that we go through a transition in any community, and a lot of the faces that I see today, I've seen for many, many years, and you know, you are what makes this restaurant the restaurant and what keeps the restaurant here. So I truly appreciate it, and I know that George and Lisa and Benny and their daughter also appreciate it as well. So that's all I have to say, but I don't know whether we'll get another 50 years out of them, but I can tell you that it's been a pleasure for my last 30. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite our current mayor, Chuck Johnson, up to say a few words.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you all. I'm glad that you're all here, and of course, as always, we're glad Forest Park is always happy to have people in Forest Park. As Wayne and Brandon before me said, 50 years is a long time to do anything. But 50 years to be in this kind of business is a lifetime. It took a lot of work, I'm sure, and you're still doing a lot of work. I think I've probably been coming here now, this is probably 23, 24 years. And I started coming here with a good friend of mine who since passed away, Jim Herbie, Mr. Herbie. He introduced me to Gator here. And so that was the beginning of my starting to come here. Again, we're glad that you're in Forest Park, and we hope that the next 50 years we'll come back and give you another one of these. And we hope that we're thankful that Macedonia sent you over to us. So, thank you very much, and I would like to present this to you. If you will, please. 2016 Forest Park Business Recognition Award, Forest Park Restaurant, in recognition of their commitment to Forest Park community. Presented by the Forest Park and the City of Forest Park and the Forest Park Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
As you can tell, when we started talking about doing this, we had actually had this, the second award was presented in an event we had earlier this year. George and Lisa couldn't make it because they're working. So since they were working, we wanted to come over and present the award to them. When we put the word out that we were going to do this, and I want to thank Brandon and Patty Weirs especially for all of their hard work in helping to pull this together. Everybody said this had to be something special. And in addition to the awards that we have today, you may have noticed when you came in, the sign out front was damaged. Doesn't happen very often, but unfortunately, it looks like somebody vandalized the sign. All the friends, all the groups we talked about came together and wanted to let George and Lisa know we're going to replace the panel on that sign. It's our gift to you and our thank you to you for 50 years of service. So thank you so much. And listen, guys, if anyone would like to, does anyone want to say something? Because this is all really, George, when we started to do this, Lisa said, we have to do it on Sunday. We have to do it when our friends and our, so if any of you want to say anything, please come up and say what you'd like to for George and Lisa.
We have been residents of Forest Park for 49 years. 49 years in the same house. And we came to George and Lisa's when our youngest was 2 years old. And she is now going to be 49. So we've been coming a long time. And it's just a wonderful, a relaxing place to come. And you never come in when you have a stranger. Everybody that comes in knows everybody else. And it's just a really neat neighborhood area. And thank you for putting up with us.
Thank you.
And we love you.
Thank you for coming, guys.
I'm Marlene, and I used to come with my mom and dad, who are no longer with us, but it started many years ago, and I don't believe that this lady is even over 50. So, thank you.
Sheila, please.
I've been listening for 45 years, and we're from Huntington, West Virginia, so I always felt like this was the place to come and get biscuits and gravy and a great breakfast. And I really appreciate everything that both of you have done. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Anyone else? At this point, George, Lisa, Susanna, Ben, if you guys, please, this is your event. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you too.
And if you got anything you want to say, please feel free to do that. I'm going to put you on the spot.
None of us are public speakers.
Yes.
Nobody in our family. We just want to thank everybody for coming here for so many years, for your loyalty, your support, friendship. We've made a lot of friends. Most of everybody, I would say, are our friends. We don't really think of anyone as a customer. My parents, of course, this is their social life. So everybody here is part of the family. Unfortunately, we've been here for so many years that we no longer have some family members. And so just on behalf of the family, I just want to thank everybody for coming and for supporting us.
Well, thank you for everybody here. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody. You two guys over there.
Thanks, guys. And the one thing I will tell you, Lisa, I promise I'm coming in for lunch more often. So, you told me, so I'll be here.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Welcome back. We've changed some seats around, and we have brought down Jermaine Hill from the Forest Park Fire Department.
Glad to be here.
Glad you could join us. You're a part of something other than the fire department that's really special, and that's something that the city has gotten into called We Thrive. We have not been able to really speak about it, but I don't know who would like to bring up like the definition, but for those who aren't familiar, what exactly is We Thrive?
Okay. We Thrive Forest Park is a group of residents or people that work in Forest Park that are looking to make it a healthier community. Through Hamilton County Public Health, we came together and we applied for a grant through Interact for Health. And we were able to achieve that grant. We Thrive, we are going down the active living pathway, and with active living, it could go through. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, with the active living pathway through the grant, we're looking to make environmental changes in Forest Park that could make it more conducive to families getting out in the open, being in the neighborhood, being more active. That could be exercising, jogging, walking, etc. Some of the things that we may look to change could be if the sidewalks need repaved. It could affect the lighting. We could try to improve those. We're looking to create more walking trails, maybe some biking trails. If we're unable to do that, we at least want to mark out and map different walking trails and publicize them. We know that there are several walking groups in Forest Park. We'd like to publicize those walking trails. So if you say want to do a mile, maybe we could point you towards Lemon Tree and Caroline. Different routes like over in the B section and the C section. The topography in Forest Park is wonderful. The C section is kind of hilly, Waycross is kind of hilly, even Lemon Tree. So there's a number of things we'd like to do. We've looked into bringing a farmer's market to Forest Park. In essence, We Thrive, we're a group of individuals, police department, fire department, some of our business professionals, some of our churches. We've come together, and we're just looking for ways to improve the community. We want to make sure that it's community-led. We're looking to expand our group. We're looking for input from the residents, and we just want to come together and make Forest Park a healthier place.
It sounds that as a unique grouping, you've got all sorts of people coming together. I mean, we are a very unique community as it is here in Forest Park. So to come together like this, are you finding that this wasn't very difficult to gather a lot of people? Because a lot of people will say, well, I'll take care of my health in January, February, come April, they're back up on the couch. But this is, again, something that you're trying to change a lifestyle, not necessarily change just one person, but an entire community.
Correct. And honestly, it seems that the community is craving for these type of programs. The community, they want to be out, they want to be active. They just want the environment to be suitable for them. We're finding a lot of positive feedback from our business partners, and there's tons of people just itching to jump in.
You're saying, that you've discussed the different parts of the topography of the area. We've talked as a community and as a whole wanting to make that change. You're talking about lighting and paths and things like this. Were these things... There are many things about Forest Park that are already there. I look at the section over by Emeritus across from Mill, and I look at that neighborhood over there, and it's very interconnected. And many of the neighborhoods are, but are you saying maybe to strengthen that? I mean, obviously, when we put in the bike trail on down Mill or Waycross down that way, those were some great changes. Are those the type of changes we're looking?
Absolutely, absolutely, and also diet changes.
And how does one do that to an entire community? Or at least the start to make that happen. It's like moving mountains.
Right. To walk that mile, you have to take that first step.
Sure.
And I'm a person, I'm on 2 blood pressure medicines. My goal is to ensure that the students coming up after us, they have the proper information so that they know the correct foods to eat, so that they can make those educated choices. The adults right now that, maybe they're not sure of healthier options. We have residents here that, they don't have time to go to the gym. We can promote healthier ways of eating. We can promote ways to exercise at home, way that you can get your steps. I see you have a device
Yes, I do.
that you can count your steps, me as well. You know, there's so many things that we can do to be active and track your activities and things. People, they may not be that far off, but if we can give them the tools to count the steps, to say, hey, you know, within this 15 minutes or while you're watching TV shows, maybe you can do exercises through the commercials. That's like a good 2 minutes of activity that you can sneak in, and small steps that can make the community healthier, things of that nature.
It sounds, rather than being the passive community, becoming more of the active community. When you say something like bringing a farmer's market and things like that, what type of changes do you think that will bring? I mean, I know what it would personally bring towards me, because, you know, if it were during the week, it'd be wonderful to be able to head over there before or after work or something to that effect. Are those the type of changes that, again, as a city can make to help make those changes for an individual to become the part of the community?
I believe so, and I didn't know that there were so many people wanting to bring in the farmers market to Forest Park, and that's just from general conversation. We sent out surveys through the Forest Park e-news, and several of the results came back where they were asking for farmers markets and things like that. So I know one of our council members, Sheila Cottle, she's very active in We Thrive, and she's researched some of the farmers markets, and we're in conversations with the couple to come to Forest Park. And also there were a couple of the churches, I believe, that had farmers market, and nobody really knew about it. So we want to make sure that that information gets out to the public.
Do you find, and Ray, you may be able to answer this a little bit better, do you find that it's something that the community is not, it's not that the information isn't there, it's just that it's not being disseminated easily, or they're just not finding it, or what are either of you feeling on that?
Well, it goes back to the basic question of how do you sort of change a community, and I think you do it in this manner where you have to have a focus and you have to have convenience, and that's what has generally been lacking. People have had the interest, but we haven't had the focus on the wellness and health of the community, and we haven't provided the convenience for people to get to it easily. As you say, well, maybe if it was during the week, well, that might be a little more convenient for you. Just as we have always done sidewalk repairs, we haven't focused on sidewalks in relation to health. We've focused on sidewalks in relation to just capital improvements. But to have a group of citizens involved with a focus on health, that's where we're looking to change the community. So it's not just a passing matter, but it's a matter of saying, okay, so how do we make this more available and more convenient and make citizens more aware of it?
Since this is spring, and you know, a lot of people like to, it's obviously going to be time to start getting out, cleaning up, getting out, moving forward. Do you still need people, a part of the community, to be a part of the We Thrive movement?
Absolutely. I'm from the perspective of the more the merrier, and we actually have a meeting on March 9th at the Firehouse, it's 1201 West Kemper, from 5 to 7 o'clock, where we're going to get some input from the community and kind of create action plans for some future projects at Forest Park. We're going to toss some ideas out, prioritize them, and then we're going to focus on those. So, I mean, you never know what could come from those meetings.
Are they regular meetings, or are you quarterly, or how do you?
Right now, we're focusing on the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
This month is a little different because, again, we're doing things with Hamilton County Public Health, and we actually have another meeting with Interact for Health, where we're going to do some action plans and some mapping out with them as well. But typically, it's the third Wednesday of the month.
Excellent. Well, we definitely want to start discussing this a bit more, because I think as we're seeing change, this is a great way to change the perspective of an individual to change the community. Little bits help all the time. One little change that does not change is, of course, the annual report in the state of the city. Ray, those things have been completed, I believe, and they are on the website for people to read. But highlighting this, what are we looking at? How was 2015, and where are we going towards 2016?
Well, 2015 continued to be a good year for us. We're rather stable right now as a community. We look at it from a financial standpoint that financially we're very stable. Our biggest challenge will be the long-term stabilization of the fire fund. We're good for probably the next 3+ years, but as we look beyond that, we have to do something to stabilize the fire fund for the long term, and we also have to do much more in terms of our major capital improvement. We need an additional funding source to get to the level where we need to be. But beyond those two key areas, the city is in real good shape, and it's just a matter of where the residents want us to be. How do they want us as public officials to serve them with resources they have available? And as I say, we're doing quite well, and that's what the annual report will indicate, but we could do a whole lot better. And you need to review the report to kind of appreciate, well, what would it take for us to do better? We need to move them all along. We talked about that the last segment. That's a major hurdle for us, and we just need to have the owner show more initiative. And there's some other areas. So rather than try to take a whole program to talk about the
and which it would take
report,
one.
we just hope residents will go out there, access our website, and they can see the entire report for every department.
Sure. Again, that's www.forestpark.org. That information is there on the main website. You'll see the link down at the bottom. Hearing that the fire fund needs a little bit, and I'm going to let you put your fire hat on here, Jermaine.
Okay.
Your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously that's your bread and butter,
Okay.
and you want to make sure that everyone, again, the citizens are tended to and taken care of, because fire is a very major, important key to the safety of a city.
One of the things that we did to try to stretch that fund out was we dropped one of our primary engines. So instead of running 2 engines, a ladder, and 2 ambulances, we've concentrated on 1 ladder, 1 engine, and 2 ambulances. And we just try to be frugal. There's some repairs needed to our station and to our equipment that we've had to put off because we knew that we were short on money. We were blessed and appreciative that the City of Forest Park supported us in passing a levy last year, because there was a fear that we would have to make some major cuts. So with that levy passing, that did buy us some extra time. But again, we're looking at more ways that we can cut and do more with less.
Right, and the key thing to appreciate is the fire fund is a solid area of operation, and it's going to be here. The only challenge we have is, how will we have to modify it to stay within the resources we have available? And many people like what we have and want to build on it, as opposed to thinking in terms of how we need to constrict it to stay within the budget. So in order for us to continue to move forward, we have to, again, look at the long-term stabilization. We're fine in the short period of time, and anybody that needs services, they're going to get it from the fire department regardless. But long-term, we need to stabilize that fund, and we can do that, but it, again, will take some decisions on the part of the citizenry.
I think that's the key point. Everything is, we're working as normal, and things are okay. Nothing's going to close, you're still going to have the protection. It's, again, taking that frugality, making it go further, and finding out exactly what the citizens need and want to make everything work properly. And I think that's going to be the best way to end today's program. So, Jermaine, Ray, I want to thank you for joining us as always, and we'll see you again in the summer, a little bit warmer. We'll be without our sweaters next time, I promise. And of course, we'll see you again next time. And I hope that you enjoyed this program as well, giving you the opportunity to look into your community and talk with Forest Park. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.